up in their house just for me, just for my junk that I couldn't put in my apartments. When Peter and I were first married, we only had a 1-bedroom, and there was no room for all the collectibles. And even when we moved into the city, we still had a pretty small, it was a brownstone, but it was a 2-bedroom apartment. But I used to keep everything at my parents', and then I finally brought everything into my house in Greenwich, and I said, oh my God, I put everything in the attic and kept, I'm a pack rat, so I keep everything. And then when I finally decided to do the book, because I was actually taking up space in my basement where I live now, and my father's basement, and I said, I'm getting rid of all this stuff. And then so I did the book. I had everything scanned and photographed and everything and ready to go, and then I sold it. I sold all the stuff in an auction. A lot of it, most of, like some of the good stuff I still have. Yeah.
And now you have a second printing, expanded.
Yeah.
What did you add to the second printing?
My second printing is about 22 pages longer. It was going to be in the first book, but I said to the guys that I was working with, I said, if I add this to the book, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to, I can't take anymore. It's got to come out. I got to finish this, because I didn't see my family for a whole year. And I just said, I got to get it out. So we decided to not put, a lot of this pages of jobs that Peter played before Kiss, and with what band, where they played, and then I put about, I think it's 22 pages, and I think maybe 15 additional photos that I got from that era. I mean, I actually had to, get from some of Peter's family and family's friends. They had taken backstage stuff, so I got that, and so I added that to the book.
Who's out there who's got Sealed with a Kiss? Do you have a copy of the book?
Raise your hand.
You got fans out there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Peter comes home one day and says, I'm going to join this band. What's your initial thoughts? Are you nuts or?
Well, no, because I was kind of, with him all along, the whole thing. I went to, to meet Gene and Paul the first time at Electric Lady, and, we had just moved into our second apartment, and, Peter went dressed up like he always does, looking like a rock star, and we're walking up 8th Street in the Village, and he's going, I'm supposed to meet these guys, and I don't see them. And then all of a sudden I said, this must be them, but they weren't dressed like Peter. They weren't the only thing that looked very very rockish was the platform. They had platform boots. And so Peter almost walked right by them and didn't notice them, because they actually they questioned Peter. Do you look good? Do you dress good? Are you willing? I mean, I was there when I answered the phone when Gene called, to answer the ad. So I was there when I heard him asking him all these questions. Are you good looking? Are you willing to do anything to make it? And so that was. I kind of was always around, so I wasn't surprised when it happened. I mean, I was surprised that they made it really big, but that I kind of knew when I first saw the first dress rehearsal.
That's great. All right, so we've got a mic floating around. If there's folks that have questions, just raise your hand. We're definitely going to get to you anytime you're ready. Don't everybody raise their hand all at once. There we go. We got a question right here.
Hey, before we even go that way, we got to say Happy Mother's Day to Lydia, even though she's not a mother.
Yes, Happy Mother's Day to everybody else. Yeah.
It's my second Mother's Day with you. We did a show 2 years ago on Mother's Day with you and Richie.
I know.
And so it's pretty cool.
That's great.
Anyway, sorry about that.
How you doing, Lydia? Just one simple question. Did Peter ever let you put his makeup on?
No, actually, the only person I put makeup on was Gene. But it's not the makeup you're used to. If you have my book, it's some feminine makeup. At the very beginning, that's what they decided to kind of copy the New York Dolls. And then they realized that when they took I'm sure everybody knows the picture, the black and white of them in a hallway. And they said, we don't look good in feminine makeup. We're big guys. Gene and Paul were saying that. Peter and Ace were small, but, they didn't want to do it that route, so they went more the Alice Cooper route. But before they did that, before they got the white, the makeup now, and the white face, I did help Gene once put his makeup on. But not Peter, no. And I've never had the makeup on. I actually thought it would have been cute to be a Peter one,
Like for
one day.
Halloween or something?
Yeah.
Anybody else got questions? Make sure you raise your hand. They're right there, sir. While we're waiting on that question, so 78 comes around, is solo album time. Is Peter like super excited that he's going to finally get to show who he is and the music he wants to do, or is he nervous and worried?
Well, to be honest with you, 78 was when we first started to break up. So, but I do know he was excited. I was with him throughout the whole album, but he had a girlfriend on the side at the time, which he wound up marrying. So, it was a hard time for us. But I was in the studio with him doing that album, and I know he put his whole heart and soul into it. I mean, I love the songs because that's my era. It's more of a soul, rock and roll type of thing. And, but he was very excited, yeah.
It's great. Yes, sir.
Nice to see you again, Lydia. Thank you for
Hi.
coming. Everyone knows Peter is a little volatile at times. And in the early days, he threatened to leave the band a couple times.
Yeah.
Did you support him? Because with hindsight, it's easy to say, I told him to stay because they were going to be huge. But did you support him saying, yeah, quit, or did you say, you're an idiot, don't quit this band?
Well, all right, I have a story. When they did their solo albums, there's a thing in the back where you thank people that helped you to get where you're at. And Peter did not put, at the time, like I said, he had the girlfriend, so he didn't want to put my name on it. So he thanked his parents first, and then he thanked me, but he used to call me Mikey, because I was like one of the guys. And so he thanked Mikey on his solo album. And then I saw the solo albums, and Gene thanked me first. And I asked Gene, I said, Gene, why did you thank me first? And he said, because Peter quit the band once, and it's because of you that he was back in the band. You talked him back into I said, I know, I did. There was a time where he was making fun of the Chinese people in the Chinese restaurant. And Gene said, if you keep doing that, we're gonna leave. And he kept doing it, and they left. And then Peter was out of the band, and I went home and I said, you're an idiot. You gotta be in this band. They're gonna make it. This is way before a coin. This is in the very, very early days. They used to play, and we used to go to Chinatown like 3 a.m. because they were open all night. And then Peter apologized and went back to being in Kiss. But he's always threatened along the way. He always, especially when Beth made it. And he always throws it up to them. Well, I'm the one that's got the only hit single. I'm the one that wrote the hit single.
For the folks that just came in, if you got a question, just raise your hand. We're taking as many audience questions as we can get. Do you have another book in you, Lydia?
Do I have another book?
Yeah, do you have another book in you?
Well, I was thinking if I ever did a book, it's a lot of work, but if I ever did, it would be photos, a lot of photos. And maybe not just Kiss, but other stuff too. I shot a lot of rock and roll, and the photos are just sitting in filing cabinets, and I don't even have time to digitize them, and they don't take. Years ago you could send a magazine a slide and they would send it back to you. Now they don't do that. You have to have everything digitized, and for that I have to hire someone. So, that's another job.
Got a question right here?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
You said you kind of like the rhythm and blues type stuff. What were some of the groups that you liked when you were growing up?
Oh, well, see, I was always more Motown. I liked the Supremes, I liked Stevie Wonder, there was the Temptations, there was, lots of, then it started with maybe the Four Seasons I liked. I'm not sure who was my actual favorite at the time, but I grew up with, with the Twist, you know, that type of, you know, chubby checker, and, you know, it goes back a while, because my brothers were always into music, and they always had it at home. I mean, my brothers were older than me, 2 of them older and 2 of them younger. The 2 older ones had 78 RPM records, and that's old. That's old. So, you know, basically you got this, the drifters, the platters, you know, all the doo-wop, I wasn't really into that much, but I did like the Motown.
Wow, we got all kinds of questions. All right, go ahead. We got a mic right there.
All right, how we doing?
We're gonna get to everybody.
Hi.
All right. First of all, thank you for the book. I got it a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh.
My wife had it signed. You actually called to make sure you were spelling my name right, which was a plus. So, what are you up to today, aside from here? I mean, what else do you have in the works in your life right now? Are you doing anything else? Rock star, or are you?
No, not really, because I'm gonna probably be moving. I mean, I've lived in my apartment for 32 years, and you know, I don't enjoy this. I mean, I don't use the city like I used to. I used to be I'm right across the street from Central Park, and I used to be in Central Park Mall when I lived in Brooklyn. So it's, you know, my boyfriend lives in Queens, and I'm thinking of maybe getting, you know, some place there and live together, you know, because we don't live together right now. But I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I'm still selling my book. I'm on Facebook all the time. You know, I get up and I'm on the computer with my morning cup of coffee. And but I do want to, you know, I mean, there is somebody that's interested in photos of Ace, and he's doing a book on Ace, and he asked people on Facebook, does anybody have pictures of Ace from this time period? And I said, yeah, I do. So he contacted me. Actually, he was here yesterday. I'm not sure, he might be here today too. But I told him, I said, let me find my photos. And I emailed him back. I said, I've got 700 photos of Ace. in his non-makeup day, you know, when he was solo, like now with Anton Fig, and I took pictures, great pictures of Anton. I think he used it for his promo photo for a long time.
That's great. Question right there.
Did you have to get a release from Gene or Paul to write the book? And have they commented about the book? Maybe you want residual money?
Did I have to get permission from them? No. The thing is, it's my First Amendment right, the right of, you know, speech. And as long as I cleared it with the lawyers, there was nothing that they could really do. I didn't use their logo on the cover, which they could have sued me for that. But I think, all in all, they love the book only because it's kind of promoted them a little too. You know, it gives the fans a little more openness as far as how they are. And I know they bought the book. They bought the book, and I remember I was in Chicago, I think, and they had to send it to him overnight. They said, I think it cost them like $100 to send the book to Paul because they were having a meeting with their lawyers. What they did stop me in selling was, I was selling little 4x, which I have on my table now, but I was selling different ones that they didn't want me to sell, yeah, because I don't think I have any with the makeup on my table, but they didn't want me to sell them. They said I actually spoke to Gene about it. They said, you're not allowed to sell them across state lines. I says, I didn't know that, so I stopped selling them. You know, but I wasn't making a fortune off of them. But somebody had actually one of the guys that worked on my book with me talked me into selling my snapshots. But I used to sell them through the fan magazines. And once Gene, he actually bought a set. Even though Gene has everything I've ever taken of him. You know, I always gave him a set of my photos. But he says his mother has them and he doesn't know where they are. So, wait, what was I going to say? I got a letter, and it was from a little boy named Joshua Sonkrant. I'll never forget the name. And he said, my Momo wrote this letter, helped me write this letter, and I want your photos. And I see that it's that the address looked really familiar to me. And I called up someone, I said, where does Gene live? And they told me, and I said, this is from Gene. So what I did was I sent him to him with a letter from me. I said, Joshua, next time you want something, just call me and I'll give it to you. I told Gene, you don't have to pay, I'll just give it to you. Just ask me. And the same thing, I gave Eric Singer a book. I didn't charge him. What am I going to do, charge the man? I sent Ace a book. You know, I didn't know Paul was buying one behind, without me knowing. I think even Keith is the one that had to send him, the Keith LaRue sent it to him, the overnight express. So.
That's great. Here, we got another question right here.
So, my question when you wrote this book is, how did it go with Peter? Was there controversy when he read the book, or how was the relationship there?
The thing is, I wrote the book, and right after I wrote it, Bill Coyne died in 10, and I wrote the book in 6, so it was 4 years old already. And actually it's maybe 3, because of the time difference. Anyway, about 3 years, and I saw Peter, and I said, did you see my book? And he just said yes, and never mentioned anything about it. But Peter was doing a book for years. I mean, in the 80s, he was talking about a book. And he finally put one out the year after mine. And I said, oh, yeah, use mine as a reference. But I tell everybody this because I think it's hysterical that I did this. I never do this to books. But I actually sat and read the book with a highlighter. And everything he had wrong, I highlighted. And everything that I didn't like, I highlighted.
It's amazing. You read all the books by the members, and the stories change. And
They all have different, always have different stories. I'm always correcting Gene also. Gene was on the ship. We were, the cruise. He was talking about when he first began. He said we got a salary of $85 a week, and I said, $85 a week? That's such a weird amount. I said, Gene, because I kept records. I used to be a bookkeeper, and I kept records of everything. And I said, Gene, you got $100 a week. He said, oh, I thought it went from 85 to 175. I said, Gene, what's wrong with you? It went from 100 to 200, and then to 300. That was all they got. But whenever they wanted something, they could just, ask for the money, and they got it. But they just had like a cash flow every week, every month, or every week, yeah.